Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Star Citizen Racing Podcast, the best place to be for all your Star Citizen racing news and updates. I am Jackaden, and once again joining me are Dirk from Sanguis Luna and Bill Boy from Black Star Racing.
What up?
Right, guys, so it has been a while since we've done our last episode. We apologize for that. But let's start off with talking about what has happened since our last episode. And I think the best place to start is with the last thing that we said on the first episode, which was the Division Racing Series from XGR. So why don't one of you guys kick it off for us?
Yeah, I guess I can start.
You got it, Bill Boy.
Feels like forever ago now, but yeah, I was just kind of had a big Star Citizen moment with that just performance with servers and clients, and everyone was having trouble. So sadly, the division racing ended up getting canceled. We got some racing in, but they kind of all ended in disaster, which was a real shame. Yeah, a lot can be said, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of in the end, it was just a whole just combination of
everything
a lot
went
of bad.
bad at the
Every
same time.
single thing that could have gone wrong and went wrong. It was just it was real unfortunate, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
There's always things that you can do better, no matter what. But even in that, there's like a lot of things that can go wrong, and everything that went wrong for that race definitely went wrong. And it just had to get canceled because it just was not working. We just got caught at the unfortunate end of a patch cycle. It's still not super stable. See, they're spending all their resources on keeping 4.0 going and getting that up and running, it seems like. So the live service was suffering because of that, and it's probably some of the worst desync that I've seen since. Oh man,
I don't know
what was
if
that awful
I don't know if
desync
I've ever
patch?
seen it that bad.
There's a patch like right before we joined racing, kind of like before we started Billboy, that I've heard
Speed talks about and stuff.
Yeah, Speed we talks about, where it was like you couldn't race, and it felt like it was that bad. Like I turn one at Snake Pit, I had 1 FPS, not even kidding, and it was like, okay, great.
And then you just blow up in the middle.
It blew up out of nothing. Yeah, I was like, oh,
yeah, there were desync issues, frame rate issues, server issues. It was So for the people who might be wondering, is why you can't find it is because we had started doing the event, and the idea behind it was going to be that we get through the heats just so we can organize the mains. So the structure was going to be we do the heats, and then we get split into an amateur league and the pro league. And the people from the amateur league would be able to qualify for the pro leagues, and it keeps on going until the champion has been found. However, the stream for the event was supposed to start once the main start, but we were having so much issues during the heats that it ended up taking the full length of the event just to get through the heats. So they just, for time commitment purposes and stuff like that, the event had to be called at the end of the heats. So that's why there's no VOD, there's no recording of it anywhere. So it's just the experience that we can share from what we've been through. And as the guys have been saying, it's Star Citizen was being Star Citizen. Unfortunately, at that time, there was everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. But it was still a relatively interesting experience trying to get 16 razors to fit into Snake Pit. But
it sucks because like the practice was great.
Oh yeah,
practices were so much fun. I had a great time, and then it just event day came around and it just didn't work.
Yeah, the build up to it was almost more exciting than the actual race.
Yeah,
but I think highlight. I don't know if you guys have personal highlights for the evening, but I guess a personal highlight for me is Boltok coming into the event not knowing that there was a safety license requirement and starting from overflow and just winning by just casually flying through the track, no boost, no nothing, just casually flying it, and that was just enough to win.
Everyone blew up in front of him.
Yeah, that's it was quite crazy.
Yeah. My highlight was afterwards, a bunch of the SL boys and like Sanguis Luna and us. It was a very frustrating night for everyone. Like when you're just getting no FPS and you're trying to do it safely to survive, you get frustrated because you're just blowing up for no fault of your own. So we went and we played some web fishing together. If anyone hasn't checked
I remember that.
Yeah, check that. We were all just hanging out. Yeah.
Your favorite part of playing Star Citizen that day was not playing Star
Not
Citizen.
playing Star Citizen, yeah.
It was playing with the boys, playing some web fishing. That was a good time. So we did that afterwards, and just to kind of cool
Yeah,
ourselves.
but it sounds like from the XGR sort of like organizers and stuff for the division races, they're gonna try to sort of recollect and get us going again for in the new year once 4.0 is out, and we'll get back into division racing once the servers are in a state where we actually can do stuff like that. So
It'll get there, and I'm sure
Yeah.
4.0 seems pretty stable. And if we have meshing done up well, it'll make security a little easier for races. I think it'll make a lot of things. Should make a lot of things
I mean,
better.
It'll
server
change things,
sizes
that's
will
for sure,
increase
yeah.
and stuff. So definitely will help keeping the party together. We've been having quite a lot of issues of in the racing scene in general. So not just the division racing, but there have been issues where we try to organize the party in a way where we have everyone in one party. So we have the racers, the directors, the security people, the camera folk, and you get to a point where there isn't a server available to just fit everyone. So there's a lot of time being wasted, going back to menus until we find that right sweet spot. With server meshing, that should clear that issue. So hopefully. But gotta say we're jumping the gun a little bit. I know 4.0 talks were in the pipeline to discuss. So before we jump onto that, I just want to mention one last thing, something that has happened recently, which was the Sim Cup, which is a competitive race. I guess it's a competitive race that's hosted by Ansia. The unique thing about it is this is purely on Arena Commander. So they did the same thing last year, which Dernk, I know for a fact, competed. Billboy, did you competed in it last year?
No, I wasn't. I
No,
wasn't
you
there
did
last
not.
year.
I unfortunately, I was still pretty new to the racing scene by that time and was not available to do it. I was also not available to do the Sim Cup this year, so I can't really give that much feedback there because it's also not recorded, so I don't really have a VOD to go back to and refer to. But Derek, you were around with our boys who actually took part in it, so would you like to walk us through what you heard and maybe comparison to what it was like last year?
This year was a little bit reduced on divisions compared to last year. Last year there was ACRUX, AX2, AX3, Open, Heavy, and Aurora divisions. There's 6. This year they reduced it down mostly due to staffing requirements, from what I heard. Because it's also December. There's been a whole ton of races this year, so people get a little bit burned out on staffing. It's around Christmas. It's hard to always get people for these types of events. So this year there's just ACRUX, Open, and Aurora, and then they also added a Gravlev division as well. And
I think that's it.
from Sangos Luna, yeah, that's it. From Sangos Luna, Jelly won the Gravlev and came second place in ACRUX. Bulltalk won ACRUX. I think we got the results there, but
I'm gonna pull up the results right now for those who are watching on YouTube. I apologize for those who are listening to it, but so I have the results up right here from the Ansia Racing Discord. So as you said, the ACRUX was taken by Bulltalk. Second place came Jelly.
Fast boy.
Yeah, Bulltalk is very difficult to beat, especially in a situation where, like in Arena Commander, a lot of people get really confident because the fear of crashing is not as bad there. I'm not sure if they had any penalties in place, but people generally get more confident flying in Arena Commander than they do in the PU.
I think it was pure placement. I don't think there's penalties. There's penalties if you were intentionally using the blow up strategy to
to get boost back,
to get boost. But otherwise, there's no penalties for crashing.
Did no one from Blackstar actually join this race, Billboy?
Yeah, no one really. I think a lot of people right now in Blackstar are just kind of after people putting some effort for divisions, and then we're like, we'll wait until Star Citizen's working better to get back to it.
That's understandable.
And also Sim Cup this year, I wouldn't say that like there always has to be prizes, but it drives participation when there are prizes. And this year Sim Cup had no prizes, didn't have a stream, which is the same as last year. I don't think there was a stream last year, but it does impact your overall signups if there's no prizes.
Yeah, I guess that's
I
true.
think Jelly had a good time, from what I heard. Basically, Bull Talk was Bull Talk, and that so he couldn't come out with the first
Looked
place.
like they had similar paces and stuff. If you looked at any of the individual race results, and it seemed like there could have been some good battles in there. But
Yeah, no, they were really close. Basically, it was almost always Bull Talk first, Jelly second. There was a handful of races where Jelly came like fifth, and Bull Talk came like fourth or fifth, probably just from some bad explosions kind of thing. But yeah, overall, it sounded like it was a decent race. Shout out to Savage Mutt. It was one of his first big races, and he came 7th place in Acrux, which sounds low, but he did beat someone who's been in racing for a very long time in Canadian
Sure.
Maverick, so that's an accomplishment. So shout out to him from SL. They also made Aurora this year. One of the reasons I didn't compete is I wanted to do Aurora, is what I had pinned on the calendar, and then they changed the rules where if you've podiumed in an Anzia race before, you couldn't compete in Aurora, which was disappointing for me because that's what I wanted to race. I guess last year people were surprised by how competitive that division was, thinking it was the beginner division. In my mind, I don't know that. I think you should just have a rookie division separate because
Yeah.
Auroras are just so fun to fly. I mean, we'll talk
Yeah,
about Aurora All Stars at
I
the end
was
of the
gonna
pod.
say like the
They're a
Auroras.
great ship. It's just
Yeah.
good time. So
It's such a loved ship by the racing community, and it's like it's considered, I guess, the entry level ship of Stars, and the fact that everybody loves it so much, and everybody keeps trying to find a reason to fly it and race it. Yeah, as you mentioned, we're gonna be talking about the Aurora All Stars later on, so yeah, it's I guess it makes sense that you'd want the Aurora division to be like a rookie series on its own. But as you said, last year the Aurora was insanely competitive because all the top racers just love the Aurora so much that if given the opportunity, they'll probably take it. So, you talked
I
about
like
their
doing Acrux, but I really want it. Anyways, it's fine. I just didn't compete this year. I'll compete next year. I'll
yeah.
convince
There's
Echo to let
always
me
next
compete in the
year.
Aurora next year. Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned there were not being prizes, but there were the awards to be given, the usual ANSIA awards to be handed out. So there were 2 awards, which are generally the Star Awards. That ANSIA has a large series of awards. They have awards for best or fastest ground racer, ship racer. They also have. There was a
Yeah, that's a long one. It's a long one.
yeah. It's quite a long one. But for these ones, they had the GA Crux Star, which was basically the fastest racer on the ship racing division on InSim Cup, and they also have the Imai Star, which is basically the fastest racer in the Grav series. So Boltok, having taken the best win from the ship racing division, he got the GA Crux Star, and Jelly having won the Grav racing. Sorry, I lost my words there. Jelly having won the Grav racing competition within SimGab, he got the Imai Star. So well done to both. Very amazing feat. And you'll be carrying that star throughout, their whole career. So definitely for the whole year for now until the next one comes along. So very nice tag to have.
Achievement.
Yeah, for sure. Puts you in the Hall of Fame in Anzia Racing, so that's a very nice achievement. Right, so I think that is all in terms of news of racing that has happened since our last podcast. I don't think there has been that much racing happening, unfortunately. However, things that have been happening recently was the IAE, the free flight and all that stuff. We got a ton of new ships. We got the IAE show, which has some very interesting news that has been mentioned. So how about we start with some of the ships that were introduced? Dirk, I know you have one that has slowly crept your way into your heart. You want to talk about that for a bit?
Billboy's the one that got me onto it, so maybe he wants to talk about the new Starlancer, the Starlancer Max. Pretty sweet for doing racing stuff with. Hey, Billboy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's one of the few ships you can actually fit a Razor into. So it's just, I think it looks cool just having a Razor in the back of a ship.
Oh yeah.
Not that it's super necessary to actually move ships to racetracks yet on a carrier
Yet.
ship, but one day it will be, and it's got that nice little forward area for the cargo. Throw some of your components in there if you need extra components, whatever you need for once we have engineering and stuff in, and could be a really cool. It just feels like a main character ship with the way it's got like a little pool table and bar area upstairs. Just great. They're just getting so good at making interiors, and it's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
size ship for putting a nice interior in it. So it's a very well done ship. I don't know, that's just me though. I'm a sucker for just a good interior and just the vibes of a ship. I know some
That's why
people
I'm
have
such
some
an Origin
gripes,
fanboy.
have some gripes with like the performance of how much cargo can hold or whatever, and that stuff's important. But I just love the vibes of that ship. It's just so cool.
I like that they've separated the cargo areas a bit because I get it for when you're talking about, oh, I want to be able to load as much cargo as I possibly can or load as many vehicles as I possibly can into a ship. But it does create a nice like separation, especially for something like racing. If you had to hold your ship and then some components as well to repair, it's nice having that separation there, and you don't have to worry about
Yeah, you can fit like
overlapping.
hover bikes in the back there too, and those little extra forward cargo area. They fit nicely
Yeah.
in a row on that little. It's just yeah, it's a cool ship.
Yeah, and there was another ship that has had some. There's kind of like a 50-50 debate on it, which is the Intrepid. Apparently, it flies like a dream, but it doesn't look like one. So, what are our thoughts on that?
How it looks. I love how it looks. The interior is incredible too. Like
Yeah,
the
definitely.
interior of the Intrepid is like the best I think of any starter ship by far.
Yeah, I think they
It's the
make
best of
really
most
good
ships in
use
that
of their
size
space.
class.
Yeah, they
Absolutely,
make
yeah.
great uses.
I personally
yeah.
don't like the asymmetrical look. Like I've heard it flies like a dream. I have yet to even try it myself. I did not really have time to log in during the Crusader period of time. So I don't know how it handles. I've heard it flies really well, but yeah, the looks. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like the asymmetrical look. It's unfortunate because if it flies well, I kind of want to try it, but I won't use it as often as I would something like the 315. Right? I think that to me is like my ideal single seater daily driver. I've grown very attached to it as one of the first ships I pledged for. So that's I don't think the Intrepid can beat the 315P for me. So
I feel like they're fairly similar as far as the stuff they provide. As far as the 300 series and the Intrepid are both kind of slightly larger starter ships, and they've
the Intrepid
got,
does have a table though, and that's something it has an advantage over the 315P. That's
I think it's got a slightly more functional interior, which the
Mhm.
the 300, if it ever gets like some kind of rework for the interior, will probably get a little bit of a boost in that department. As far as functionality, you might get like a suit locker or something. But yeah,
do have
the
one,
Intrepid,
though, I
I think. Is there a suit locker in the?
I believe
315?
there is. There's definitely there's like a whole section at the back of the ship where you can hang your guns and have.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not a suit locker. It's just an external cargo space.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
or
Familiar
storage
enough
space.
with the series.
But yeah, the Intrepid fly is amazing. It's not nearly as fast in a straight line as something like a 300 series or a racing ship, but just the handling, and it has a decent little ammo profile, so it bites a little bit when you turn, and it's just got a good roll and pitch rate and stuff. It just feels good. It's just a nice, easy, smooth flying ship, and I've been flying it around Pyro a bit in 4.0, and
Nice.
and it's nice because it's the only ship that's that small, that size, starter ship kind of class ship that you can jump pretty much anywhere with. It's got a pretty big quantum fuel tank, which that might change, probably will change. But currently, it's of all the starter ships, it's the only one that can make most jumps. I think the Cutter Rambler and comes in pretty close, but all the other ones aren't even. You can't jump to most places unless you're in that little smaller bubble in the middle with a couple systems.
Juice, eh?
Yeah.
I'm fingers crossed we get an Ignition Expo from Anzia for the Intrepid. If EchoBit, if you watch this, give us an Ignition Expo. I want to race the Intrepid. It'd be great racing.
There's just one issue with that, right? The Ignition Expo is generally reserved for ships that are made for racing. So
that's where we're getting the racing variant, right?
Yeah, if we get a racing Intrepid, by all means, bring it.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We don't need
Just
that
do
gun
it. Just
anyway.
do it
so
anyways.
we
Yeah.
never needed that
Do it
gun. Just
anyways.
strap a Herald rocket in the place of the gun. And just give us more
I
straight line speed.
Crusader doesn't have a racing ship,
Not yet.
Yeah.
so
Get
they
better, though.
they
need
need one, man. If they had it was a smaller Intrepid. To be fair, I think if you're making it a racing ship, it's not asymmetrical. Just make it symmetrical, like a small one with just the one
Have
cockpit
to
in the
make the
front.
aerodynamics make sense.
But it'd be so good. I'm making it. It'd be the greatest ship you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that we need another racing ship that falls in that like small dedicated racer class, like the
Yeah.
Razor and the M50. Because currently there's just those two that are the only thing they were designed for was being a racing ship. Every other
Yeah.
racing ship we have right now is a variant of something already that existed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess
well,
Mustang
the Kruger.
and
I guess you can
350
be,
are variants.
Technically, the P72, I guess, is a dedicated racer because that's not a variant, but it's very similar to the P52.
Yeah,
I think we're
it's
currently
kind of a
at-
variant of the Merlin.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
currently we have like 2 ships in each series. So I think for the snubs we have the Archimedes and the Fury LX. For like
Mhm.
let's just say the classic racers, we have the M50 and the Razor. And then for the heavyweight class, we have the 350R, the Mustang Gamma / Omega, and then the Peregrine. So
Yeah, I think
Yep.
Peregrine lines up with those two.
yeah, I mean Peregrine is
Yep.
quite a bulky ship, so it's quite heavy. So yeah, so I
But
think
there's
we
kind of
just
3
need
classes of racers, hey? Yeah.
Yeah.
Apologies for the
Yeah, it's kind of like in regular motorsport. You got like F1, then you got like a GT motorsport where you're racing regular cars that are just a racing version of them.
I find there's a
think-
lot of chatter in racing discords about trying to find a balance between all these racing ships, and personally, I don't think there's between snubs. Yeah, they should be fairly similar. Between the M50 and the Razor, they should be similar and stuff. But I don't think you're ever gonna have a balance across all of these ships. There's too many of them.
Yeah, especially ships as big as like the 350R. I mean, that's a gigantic ship compared to snubs and the Razor and M50. They're just different. But who knows?
No
Stuff
doubt.
always changes with that kind of thing. So what else did we see at IAE? Those are
Well,
the
there
two
was
that
the
were
IAE
really stand
show,
out for me.
which they were talking about, combat changes and all that stuff. But I think the best thing that we can probably focus on is the master mode changes that they mentioned. That was mentioned at IAE show, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to that now, or do we want to talk about all the IAE ships? I don't know. I mean, I think that the two we talked about are probably
I think
our highlights are our favorites, but
yeah, I think the Intrepid was obviously the highlight because a lot of the racing people, you either love it or you hate it, but the people who love it just love flying it. And a lot of people want an Intrepid race, to be honest. So I'm down for that if it ever happens. So, and then the other one was, as you said, the Starlancer Max, and maybe the Polaris, right? But the Polaris is more
Polaris,
of like the big racing team ship. You can have all the med beds in there. You can store a bunch of racing ships, and it's I think it's the ideal large, org or team ship, at least from what is available to us right now, right? Because at some point or another, we'll have what's the Iron Chad, which is also very the Iron Chad, also very very
that'll be a great carrier.
potentially good racing carrier. So
yeah, the respawns on the Polaris. I think our guys did some testing and managed to fit more than a dozen Razors in it. It was pretty crazy. So it's
plus a few more in
it's
the
a perfect
cargo
ship
bay.
for yeah. So especially if we have to worry about keeping these things repaired and upkept long term, the Polaris is certainly an option for hosting your racing team out of.
Yeah, I think we talked about the Polaris in the previous episode, but that was when it was still in the PTU. Now it's in live and in several players' hands. So
I might have already talked about the dozen Razors in the Polaris.
I think we did as well. So yeah, I didn't want to talk about it too much, but while we're on the topic of the IAE ships, those are definitely things that came out during that period of time. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the Save Stanton event. It's not really relevant to racing, but while we're talking about what's been happening around IAE, did you guys get any interesting experiences doing those missions?
I actually didn't do it at all.
You actually didn't do it? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do any of it.
I think the Idris event was the part where I kind of started crying a bit.
we at SL we've kind of worked out a method by the end of it of how to take out the Idris very quickly, very easily. So it wasn't too bad. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed just getting out with the org and and doing a little bit of like fun Idris boarding missions and stuff like that. Even though you don't have to board it for the mission, but it's one way to do it, and it's
I
pretty.
think it's probably easier
entertaining.
if you do, if you manage to get in. It's way faster than actually trying to blow it up.
Well, we found at the end, so yes, that was true. So there was like, we went through iterations. It was like the first strategy was to, and this seems like long term how you're going to take down an Idris, which was we had to disable all the PDCs first, and then we had to take the shields down, and then we would try to blow it up to disable it, and then we would board it and try to take out the ship. Then the new strategy we found was just to disable the shields on the rear, have someone with a bunch of distortions knock it out that way, and then board it and take it out. And then finally, the one that works the fastest, as we discovered, is you can basically shove the nose of the Polaris into the butt of the Idris, and if you fire a torpedo in the right spot, it disables the whole thing immediately. It hits like some power plants and stuff,
Oh my
and it
god.
just becomes a sitting duck, and then you just back off and unload Polaris torpedoes at it till it blows
Oh
up.
my
So
god.
that was the
All right.
fastest way to do it. We discovered at the end.
And now, having said that, that is definitely going to get fixed.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard that they're gonna fix it by creating an arming distance, basically, where the torps don't arm until they're a certain distance out of the torpedo bay, which makes sense because
Yeah.
otherwise you could blow yourself up with them anyways.
Yeah. Oh, and I've
which is what
seen
you
that.
kind of
I've seen
did.
that
Is you'd
happen.
hurt yourself a lot.
The PDCs
Yeah.
are insanely accurate at firing at those
Yeah.
torpedoes to the point where I was flying with a group that I had met on the server, and they said, we have a Polaris, come with us and let's take it out. And I was just running one of the fighters that was like escorting and taking out the small fighters, and I was running next to the Polaris, and it fired the torpedo, and all of the automatic turrets immediately just unloaded on that torpedo, and it blew up right on the Polaris's nose.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll happen.
Definitely
So,
having
but-
an arming distance is gonna help.
So yeah. Anyway, safe standing was good. I think it was fun. It was great to like steal Idrises and then man them and go out and just do shenanigans. At the start of Safe Stanton, you could put them in your personal hangar at your home base if you had an XL hangar, and you could just park it there, and it would persist, which was great. And then they removed that near the end, so couldn't save an Idris for future use. But
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna
I'm
get
excited to
wiped
see what
soon,
part two-
anyways, right?
yeah, and I'm excited to see what happens for part 2 because
Oh
there's
yeah,
another second half to this phase once Pyro drops in live.
yeah. Because from the mission 5, and I think we did 4 missions, right? Yeah. So mission 5 and whatever else is coming next will be at the 4.0 launch. So my, I guess, prediction is that we'll probably end up having a mission where we chase this bandit group, I forgot their name, through the Pyro jump point, and then we end up, so it's either gonna be a fight at the gate or the fight on the other side of the gate. So, everybody jump through the portal and let's go on the other side. So yeah, that's probably what I'm guessing is gonna happen. So we'll see when it does come out.
Safe Standing's still up, and you need help progressing. Shoot Dirk a DM. I'll get you over to SL. We'll get you through it quick. We're pretty efficient at dealing with it now. So if you still need to do it,
No,
and it's still
definitely.
live by the time this goes live. I'm not sure when they're going to stop doing the first phase, but
Yeah, I mean, they said that everything's gonna be available until 4.0 hits live. So you got all the time in the world until that happens. So
Yeah.
All right. So you want to talk about what they actually said in the IEE show?
yeah, you want to talk about the master mode change?
Yeah, the master
Yeah, we
mode
can start with
changes.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, everyone likes to speculate about that, especially XGR. That after that IE show, the general chat in XGR Discord was on fire.
I mean, they definitely left a lot that it's a bit open to interpretation, but from the way that it was described, at least to me, let's all talk about the way we understood it. But to me, it sounded like the idea of SCM and nav. They kind of want to scrap that and just have everything under one operator mode, and you'd basically just jump to quantum to use the quantum boost when that's coming out, right? And then they just ignore the nav, the speed increase that you get in nav mode right now, and have everything that's roughly around the SCM speeds that we have now. And then eventually crafting will increase those speeds because you get better thrusters, blah blah blah. Am I understanding what was said during that event, right?
That's roughly how I understood it too. Yeah, that we're gonna have a one speed, one what's the word they used? Just one cohesive speed for all the ships or whatever. And yeah, no more nav mode or no more nav speeds, I guess.
And no nav flight.
But yeah, and no nav flight mode, yeah. But you'll still have to switch modes if you want to go from quantum boost or be able to do combat or whatever. But it won't change your speeds or anything.
And I think they said they wanted
then,
to. Sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done.
Oh yeah, and then I was just gonna say yes, and then the only way to get your speeds higher than whatever the speed is gonna be for the ship in its stock configuration is gonna be purely through upgrading your ship. And when you do the upgrades, which actually we heard about this a little bit from the SCL that we just had recently, is that
Yes.
the way that you upgrade your ship is by, or the way that you get these speeds higher is that if you upgrade your ship, you're gonna get to choose which direction you want to upgrade it. So you'll be able to use a certain material or whatever to upgrade it in the direction of I want a higher top speed or I want more capacity for my weapons or whatever. That's kind of how I understood how you're gonna be able to alter your ship as you go through that upgrade progression to getting those higher tier components and the higher tier ships is what's gonna let you get higher speeds or better power capacity or anything.
Yeah, I think they actually explicitly said that you can focus on either a specific component or a specific part of the ship and just max it out. So if you wanted to go
Right.
like really fast in a straight line, you just focus on your main thrusters, and it just boosts your output on the mains. I'm not sure if like they're going to separate mains to mavs. I would imagine they would. Maybe that you would want to see like, do I want a really fast ship in a straight line, but then I'd have to really be careful how I take turns, or do I want a ship that's maybe doesn't need so much top speed, but I really need the maneuvering? Like for example, something like Snake Pit, you would rarely ever want to go like super fast, but you really want to be able to take those turns really tight. So you would tune your ship to be able to adjust to take those turns really fast. So I think that'll be, if that is how it's going to end up being, that I think that'll be really exciting. I'm not sure if they said that you can adjust tunings on the same ship, or you would have to
Yeah.
build a new one for a different spec. So there's a lot that we still don't know, but it's very fun to speculate, especially when it comes to tuning ships. That's not something that we could say that we could have done before. So
A lot of it up to interpretation. Like the talk about quantum boosting, I found that not a lot of people mentioned at not this last sitcon, but the one before 2953. They did show a version of quantum boosting that was
Mhm.
that was going to be set up for the old flight model, which was basically like a sort of quantum travel. And they said that we're going to be able to reach up to like 1/10 the speed of quantum speed. They said in your quantum boost.
Mhm.
So I was like, so it's kind of hard to say whether that's even going to be used in racing or not. If it's
Don't think
like if
so.
there's going to be a charge up time to use it, or if it's going to use it in straight lines. I don't think it will. They don't usually make these things very useful like quickly.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people really liked the idea of having a potential. Well, some people really liked the idea of potentially having a race where you would mix the quantum boost as part of the track. So maybe you have a short section of a track and then boost to a completely different area, and then have another short race and just do that. But I think it kind of breaks the flow, because the way they said quantum boost would work is as soon as you would get out of it, you would come to a dead stop. So that to me kind of breaks the flow that I would want to have in a race. So I don't think it's I think it's just a feature of get there faster. Like if anybody have played No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky has something that's called the pulse drive, I believe, and it does the exact same thing. So you either have the warp drive, which is basically what the quantum travel is right now, and then you have the pulse drive, which is basically you just hold it down and you just shoot in a straight line at super fast speeds. But you can only
Yeah, I
go
think
in a
that's
straight line. So there's
that's
no
the big thing we don't know
maneuvering,
yet
there's no nothing.
is that if we'll have maneuvering or if it will be a straight line. They didn't really clarify exactly how it's going to work. Because they said it's going to basically be from the top end of nav mode all the way up to 1/10 of
Mhm.
quantum boost speed or whatever, or light speed or whatever they said it was. So I'm guessing you'll be able to decide how fast you want to go throughout, like whenever you're in quantum boost mode. So I don't know if you start going slow enough in quantum boost mode, if you will have some maneuverability or not. They didn't really specify anything like that. They just told us that quantum boost mode will be able to go from this speed to this speed, but they didn't really tell us how our ships would fly while we're doing it.
You
So
remember from last year's CitizenCon, when they were showing the demo of the quantum boost, as Derek mentioned, they actually showed that, you know how in when you have to adjust yourself to the quantum bubble, the way they showed it is like you would have the ring and you would have to maintain the trajectory, I guess, to always be within
Yeah.
that circle, and then at some point
Yeah.
the quantum bubble would stabilize, and then you can just be hands off. But the quantum boost, you would always have to be hands on. So as long as you're jumping in that straight line, you have to maintain the stability of the ship yourself. So considering the idea is to always maintain the circle, I don't think they have plans of allowing you to maneuver. I think it's just stay as stable as you can within the straight line.
Right. But that was also back when they were planning for nav mode to be something that was in the game, and that's gone. That's going to be gone now.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean, I don't even think that was. I don't know if Master Modes was even much of a talk at that time. I don't know. It's really hard to
it
say.
was. They
Oh,
We
no,
have
yeah,
to
that was
get.
a big highlight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we just have to get it in our hands first before we can
Yeah,
really
yeah,
make any. Because
definitely.
I mean, all this stuff is so open to change.
Hmm.
The only thing that concerns me is I do think racing needs to get a little slower in some instances, but at the same time, you don't want it to be a snail's pace with how big
Yeah.
a lot of these tracks are. So it's the only thing that concerns me is how slow are we going to be? Are they going to be boosting STM speeds a little bit, or are we going to still be at that fairly low speed that it's at right now? We'll see. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting for racing for sure. But I'm always a fan of closer racing, and more safe racing, or the ability to be safer, and slower certainly helps that.
I think a big part of it is something that you said, is just how big the tracks are, right? I think the problem with slowing the ship speeds, because at the end of the day, when you have 300 meters per second, it's still pretty damn fast. But the
Yeah,
problem
you're
is the
zooming.
sense of scale that you have inside the cockpit when you're flying so high up. With these tracks having been designed when the top speed was like 600-700 meters per second, if not more, you would 700 meters per second going 5 kilometers is one thing, but 5 kilometers going at 200 meters per second will feel significantly slow unless you have something around you that makes you feel like you are flying so fast, right? Because if you have like a building and you're flying at it at 200 meters per second, you're going to fly pretty fast by that building. But if you're going to be in an open space, it just feels so slow.
Skyscraper and Snake Pit are gonna feel great. They're gonna be fine. Lorville
Oh, yeah.
Outskirts and Icebreaker
Oh
might
yeah,
be.
Icebreaker is gonna feel like such a
Eh,
slog, because they're long,
Depends. It
straight
really
in the back.
depends on how it goes. Yeah,
Mhm.
it really depends on what changes we see.
But how do you guys feel with the ship speeds being determined by crafting and not the base model? Because I think it'll add an interesting element of, here's what I'm tuning my racing ship for, because our base model are fine, but I just want it to be faster in a straight line, but you want it to be faster when maneuvering. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I
We talked
think
about it a bit last pod too, a little bit about crafting, right? Like we went a little bit into it and how that's gonna affect things. I think it's fine. It just really depends on. It kind of makes it weird for like organizers and how they're going to, I guess, police
Yeah.
things. Like, are they
Oh
just
yeah,
gonna let
we
you
did
bring
talk
your
of
best
this
ship,
exactly.
or are they gonna have to, tell you to bring a base model?
yeah, it just adds a lot of moving pieces. I think it'll be fine for racing, like time trialing, absolutely no problem. That'll just add a little extra interesting mechanic as far as having to go out and source components to get your better ship, so you can do time trials and tweaking whatever. If there is enough nuance there that you can tweak it to maybe make a ship perfect for a certain track for time trialing, that'll be really cool. But yeah, actually organizing races is when it can start to get difficult. It's deciding how everyone has to run these components to make sure everyone's on a level playing field, or do you just go ahead and let people do it like it's Formula One, where it's about who can build the best racing ship, and then that might take some of the skill out of the equation. It might be more about who can set up the best racing ship, who can source the best components, because these things might be expensive, and especially early on in 4.0, there's a good chance that not everyone will even know where to get the best components, because people are still figuring all this stuff out. Sorry, not 4.0. I meant when we get when we get these crafting systems in place.
Stuff. Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be a bad thing. It'll just be a new way of. It'll just be a change. We'll have to do stuff differently, and we'll have to come up with regulations and things like that. And then eventually, if we do end up with AC being, because with these systems, it will make the process of getting a race together a lot more difficult just because there's so many more moving pieces, like I
Oh
said.
yeah.
So AC will probably become more popular for doing racing. If we get AC into a state where we can have whatever 20 people in a server and be able to set our own lap counts and maybe even set rules as what ship you can have and what components can be on the ship and stuff like that. So as things move forward, hopefully we get the systems we need to allow racing to be easily regulated, because I think that'll be the issue, is regulating stuff.
Speaking of like crafting and blueprints, we had a few conversations in SL a bit about this where they've talked about limited blueprints or like one-time use or difficult to get blueprints, and it's going to be weird how they implement that, because like, for example, if it's limited and it's hard to find these blueprints to make your faster thrusters or make the fastest thrusters, that's going to just, it's going to make it even more difficult to create a faster ship. I don't know. We'll see how they decide to come up with blueprints. I'm not a huge fan of blueprints that like destroy themselves after you use them. I think if you have the blueprint, you should have it, and then maybe you just need a rarer piece of resource and have more of that resource in order to finish.
Yeah, so the way that they mentioned it recently with like the SCL that just happened, and I think some previous information, is that the blueprints, like the different tiers of blueprints, are going to be obtained through research. You won't be going out and finding a tier 5 blueprint.
Okay.
You'll find a tier 1 and then have to upgrade it to tier 5, is how I understood it. That's what it sounded like. Because that's what they talked about in the SCL, is that, yeah, you just take your blueprint and you can upgrade it all the way to tier 5 through research. But then they also, have to, and I think they talked about how you obtain blueprints through missions or rep, but then also just from loot boxes. And I'm not sure if the loot boxes will just be a random way of getting any component that could also be gained from doing rep, or if those will be totally separate blueprints that might be better, or maybe they'll all be worse. It's hard to know. I imagine they'll lock the best stuff behind rep and missions, just because that seems like the safest way to make sure that the people who put in the effort are getting the best stuff, and it's not just luck. Well, luck can be fun if you just run across something really cool. Not sure. Yeah, not sure how they'll end up doing that. But I'm guessing that most racers, if they race enough and do the racing missions and get rep for racing, they'll probably end up with those blueprints they need. And then they'll just have to have either their own base or a support system of some kind that they'll have to upgrade those blueprints with, which again, we don't know how long that'll take or how much effort or resources or whatever. So yeah, hard to say.
It makes sense to make use of, they said eventually they want to add the guilds, like having the sports guild being, fleshed out to the different levels of racing offers a different kind of like top tier rewards for that kind of like division of racing. For like time trial, maybe you mega awesome thrusters but really horrible fuel consumption, so like you only have enough fuel if you burn out fully to go like 1 or 2 laps at most. So they are definitely the go-to thrusters for time trialing, but maybe for racing you want something a bit more efficient. So
yeah, I hope we get that amount of nuance. That'd be really cool. To be able to tune a ship to be terrible. Like I hope there's a way to tune a ship up and it's god awful, just like unusable.
You just make a totally crap ship to give to someone, and then you go, hey, there you go learn on this one, and then you'll be good on the better ones. I'm really pro tuning and crafting to enable different levels of tuning. The only thing that I get scared about is what I don't want is a situation where I need like S tier thruster component or material or whatever, and I'm going out and I'm hunting down this S tier component or S tier blueprint, and then I find 5 S tier power plant. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh great, I got another S tier power plant. I didn't need this.
Having to deal with RNG.
I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, I want there to be like a timer. It's like, okay, you put all the resources in or whatever, or you do your research, and then in 4 hours you'll have it. Right? That's what I'd much prefer, rather than just the pure RNG of trying to find the best thruster.
I don't think they will leave it up to RNG though, to be honest. I mean, they kind of they're going in a direction where everything is placed with purpose, and having RNG kind of like ruins that element to it. So they'll probably lock behind, the best things behind things that make sense for that thing to be locked behind it. So
speaking of crafting and base building and 4.0, what do you guys think Pyro for racing? What do you think we're going to be racing in Pyro?
I mean, it's wave 1 now, wave 2 actually. So it's in people's hands. I personally have not had that much time on it, but I know Bill Boy, you've been spending quite a decent time on it. How are you feeling?
It's gorgeous. Like just low flying around and hooning around is incredible. Every planet's a it feels like a leap and bound above anything we have in Stanton as far as just how cool the landscapes are, and the mountains and stuff are all way bigger. You feel like there's way more sense of scale with everything. Everything feels gigantic, especially when you get out of your ship and stand there and watch someone else flying around while you're looking over the edge of a giant cliff. But yeah, so Pyro's amazing. It's really really cool. It's gonna be great for hooning. But with the lack of real like man-made structures, it definitely makes it a little tougher to make really memorable, interesting racetracks. I really haven't found too many places that feel like they'll be great for a racetrack. There's places that you could probably do it. Pyro 1's pretty interesting. Has lots of really cool rock formations and some areas where there's some kind of snake pit style trench or canyons and stuff, and they're about the size of or even bigger than snake pits. So there's definitely some potential for that. But yeah, making it memorable, I think, might be difficult to make a really good track that has some good flow and just feels good. But I think it's going to be possible. But I'm not sure we'll be able to make any tracks that are much better than what we have in Stanton. Other than it'll just be a different vibe. Also, much harder to get your ship to the tracks as well because the distances are just so much bigger. Yeah. Some of them are easier. Like Bloom is right next to Obituary Station, so if you die, you can hop right back down. But some of them, like Pyro 1, is out in the middle of nowhere. There's not really anywhere you can spawn close by. And I don't think that there's asteroid bases all over the place, but most of them are hostile. I haven't experimented with seeing if there's places you can respawn on them, but most of them are hostile. And the closest place, I think, is Obituary, and it's still a pretty long jump. And yeah, like the Razor barely makes it on its own.
So why having a carrier ship is going to be so important.
Yeah, right? No, you might need to. Yeah. There might be locations you cannot get to. You cannot get to in like a Razor without having a larger ship take you there. But yeah. I think Pyro could have some racing, but it's going to be a lot more difficult, and I'm not sure the quality of the tracks once we actually get them going. But we'll see.
Knowing Echo, I know that we'll see Scarlet Apex and Pyro most likely.
Yeah,
that'll be fine. Actually, Zero G Racing will be excellent. Zero G Racing, the stations are awesome. There's a lot of potential for really cool Zero G races around stations, but Atmo Racing, cool. I think, is mostly what I've been looking at.
Yeah. What also on 4.0? You've been on there a lot, Billboy. I haven't been. I literally haven't been on it once. I just keep hearing about it from the other racing guys. I'm one of those people that usually just waits for things to hit live, or if it's really crazy on the PT, I'll get in there. But what do you think of the new HUD? I kind of like. I mean, there's the funny conversations you see again in XGR, people talking. It's like, this is just the same HUD we got before. Why did they have to go through all this process? And I think it's better than the HUD that we had like 2 iterations ago, but it's definitely way better than the one we just have right now, where there's like nothing on your screen.
Oh, yeah,
there you go. Yeah, Jack.
Yeah,
what do you think, Billboy?
It's really good. I like it. It is very similar to the one that we had before they did the whole HUD refactor and stuff. I think it looks a little nicer. Maybe it's a little bit more clean, but it does have a couple extra things that are really cool. Like in the bottom right there, you can see it's got that Atmo gauge, which is basically telling you it's technically it's not the atmospheric density. I think it's the pressure, but I'm not sure that pressure, really matters. Yeah. The way that they factor in the way that they do their calculation, I'm not sure it matters. It seems like pretty consistently as you go to planets, if that number is really high, you're going really slow, and if that number is really low, you'll be going pretty quick. And they've got some extra stuff like your climb and descending sort of indicator with that VSI. And then the G meter is really nice. It automatically calculates your maximum G output at any whatever altitude you're at. So
no way.
Yeah, it's really cool. So there where it says it's 15.6 Gs or whatever, that's specifically how the maximum amount of Gs your ship would be able to pull with main thrust and boost if you were stationary. Wow. So if you went up into space, say you're in a Razor, if you went up into space, it'd be like 30.2 or whatever it is in a Razor. But then as you start going in atmosphere, that number starts going down because you just have that air resistance. And however thrusters work, I don't know, they might become less efficient in Atmo 2. But either way, it tells you what results you're gonna get, so you don't have to test it by yourself, which is usually what we do right now, is we go and just full boost, blast the thrusters, and check what number you get there, and then you write it down. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just
an altimeter on the right next to the speed. Is that?
Yeah, the altimeter is not too bad. It's a little weird that it's in kilometers. Like it's like 1.75 kilometers. It's kind of a weird way of doing an altimeter, but it works.
Better
And
than
it's
nothing.
accurate. And it's accurate. And then there's also a relative altimeter that shows up in the bottom right as well that tells you how close you are to whatever underneath you. So it's not based on sea level or whatever they base it on for the planets. It's based on actually what's below you, which is pretty
Oh
cool.
no way.
And
I love that the
You can
speed
actually
and boost are now meters again. I
Yeah,
did not
they-
like the current the 24.2 version of the boost meter. I really don't like it.
it was so hard to read. It was so hard to read. And
Impossible.
other great thing about this boost meter is next to the percentage at the bottom of the boost meter on the right there, that percentage that says AB underneath it, that little circle that's there next to it shows you the ramp time for when you're boosting. So when
nice.
you press boost, that bar like loads. It does it really quick. It's like a second, but I'm sure on different ships the ramp time's a lot slower, so it may take like 3 seconds for your boost to ramp up to full thrust. So
That's
it
cool.
actually lets you know what your ship's doing when you're pressing the boost button. So when you boost, that'll fill up, and then when you stop boosting, it'll have a cooldown where it turns red, and then the bar will unfill, and then it'll have, then after it unfills, it'll have like a whatever, it'll show you basically when you're boosting and when you're not, and how much thrust capacity you actually have going at the time. So that's
One
pretty
more
cool.
thing to tune with crafting, right? Is the
Yeah,
boost ramp
yeah.
up.
Yeah, better boost ramp. Yeah, immediate ramp. I like the fuel percentages. That's nicer. I hate when
Yes.
it's like it's ambiguous
Bunch of
and hard to
numbers.
fully figure out. Yeah, just give me a
Yeah, yeah.
percentage. Let me know how close I am to empty and how much I burn every lap. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I think they really nailed giving all the information by using as little screen space as possible. I mean, you got bars and numbers and lines everywhere, but I think they're opaque enough that they're not as intrusive as what you have now. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty good. And then the last thing that's new that they added is on the left side, left of the velocity bar. That weird like plus sign thing with the arrows on the end is a like velocity direction indicator.
mhm.
It's not really scaled correctly because when you're in atmosphere, it doesn't do a whole lot for you. But once you're up in space, if you get going in a direction and you turn away so you can't see your TVI anymore and you're drifting to the left or down or whatever direction you're drifting, it'll have white arrows pointing in the direction that you're going. Basically the up and down is vertical and the right, left, and right is horizontal. And it just tells you, it's a strafe indicator. It tells you which direction, which velocity you're strafing in. And then as you put inputs in your strafe, so your left, right, and your up and down, it'll fill up those bars with a blue color to tell you which direction you're thrusting in. Not sure how useful it'll be, but I think it could be useful
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
like
definitely
teaching
might be
people,
good for
just
zero G as well,
showing videos and stuff. You'll be able to show videos to people and show what you're doing, and they'll have an idea of your inputs and stuff without actually having an input layout on the screen. So yeah, I'm sure there's some use case for it, but haven't figured it out yet. But it's just a cool extra feature.
Very cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with making the visual experience just gives you everything you need, but doesn't have to take your eyes away from so many things. And I did this. This is a very good iteration on, the new MFDs are all nice and cool and realistic, but in reality, when we're flying, we just want to know what we're doing, right? We just want to know our
Yeah.
speed, our boost, our fuel. We're done. So
Yeah, and I'm hoping with the way that they have in the MFDs, there's that MFD that has all those little toggleable
now
options.
that you
I'm
can
hoping
turn off some of the stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
that'd be
it's-
perfect. Yeah.
Right now for the HUD, the options are to either have the default HUD, which is that one they introduced, last patch. You can either have that one on, you can have the advanced one on, or you can have all of it turned off, and it just leaves you with no HUD at all. Which
That's
kind of
nice for cameras.
looks cool. Yeah, it's nice, and yeah, it just has a nice clean view. Then if you don't care about any of that information, but I'm
Perfect
hoping
for cameras.
with them
Yeah.
adding these things, they're going in a direction where they're going to start allowing you to customize your HUD, where you can have whatever. I don't want to see my velocity. I don't care how fast I'm going. Just turn that one
Yeah.
off. But then, I do want to know my G-force, so I'm going to leave that. Just stuff like that. Be able to customize it to the exact things you want, just so that you can get rid of the clutter, but have all the information you need without CIG deciding which things they think you want. Because everyone's a little different. Depends what you're doing. So
100%.
hopefully it keeps going that direction, because they did a good job with this one.
Yeah. And they've also actually started iterating on stuff in Arena Commander 2 now. Recently, there have been some chats with the DJ Bunton on the XGR Discord otherwise known as the Arena Commander guy, where he's been asking for some feedback on what we think about the Arena Commander modes and what they can do to improve it. And one of the biggest things that people keep asking for is that when I'm in an online lobby, I just want to be able to fly the track while I'm waiting, right? Because for people who try to queue up for online racing without a group, you end up spending a lot of time just sitting around waiting for somebody to join. Then you have that off scenario where you get somebody, you start the race, and within 2 or 3 checkpoints, they leave and game over. So one thing that they have actually added in the current version of the PTU is the option to just free fly while you're waiting. So if you're alone in the lobby and there's nobody else in there with you that's readied up, you can actually just fully go through the track. So it's very, very nice to get some practice done while you're waiting, and just it helps alleviate the boredom of just sitting around and waiting. So I think it's a very good start, something that a lot of people have been asking for. What do you guys think? Is this a good thing? Is there more that could be added?
Yeah, I mean, it's great.
Billboy's been flying it. What do you think?
I haven't really, honestly, I've been more in the PU in 4.0 than I've been in Arena Commander, but I tested out for a second. I mean, yeah, you hop in there and right when you spawn in, you can start flying, and you're actually invincible, which is weird.
Nice.
But it's not bad
Yeah.
for practicing, I guess, other than if you get into one of those like death spins where you're just
Mhm.
spinning and spinning and spinning for 30 seconds. But
Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
but no, it's really nice. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely terrible. Usually, I don't bother doing Arena Commander when you have to sit there and wait for 5 minutes for someone to get in. I'll usually only do it if I know
5
there's
minutes
somebody
is quite
that
generous.
yeah, that is pretty generous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice just being able to run laps, and it doesn't time you either, which is
No.
something that'd be nice if they added. So it doesn't actually time your laps, but it's nice to just be able to at least do something, work on your line or whatever you're doing before the race. So it's a
what I
great
thought?
addition, and yeah.
About kind of like using it to our advantage from a community perspective is that the race doesn't actually start until the last person readies up. So if they manage to increase the player lobby count but not the lap count, you can just have everybody in there except the last person just gets in there as a dummy to not ready up, and we can just run laps to infinity in there.
I haven't checked to see if the little HUD element that tells you ready up, press X, goes away when you press X. I'm not sure if it does that or not. Because if it doesn't, that could be pretty distracting and annoying and not good for a broadcast too. If we're trying to broadcast, I guess I don't know if in third person
you
if
just
that
have a
HUD goes
guinea
away.
pig in there just sitting there not readied up.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that even the people who are readied up, there might still be a little piece of HUD in the middle of their screen, like with a countdown queued up or
Yeah,
something.
sometimes
I'm not
there's a
sure.
Maybe
that
it'll be
says
like
race.
waiting for one player or something like that.
It might say waiting
Yeah.
for one player. Yeah, so that could be distracting, and that sometimes those things stay even in third person. So like the camera crew wouldn't even.
Yeah,
be a good
fair
thing,
enough.
but that's an idea though. But we did talk to. I mean, we talked. DJ asked a lot about the things that we want and what kinds of things he has kind of cooking up, and
Yep.
he said that it's not fundamentally AC is not really set up to have more players than we currently have in AC. So he said it would be a little bit of work. He'd have to ask some of the networking guys to like really get in there and do some kind of overhaul, right? Am I remembering that right?
I think he said there is a limit essentially.
Right.
But in other like versions, like in other free fly parts of AC, you can have up to like 16 to 32 people. So I think that they
Right.
could go up. He was also talking, he's like, I don't know why you'd want more than 8 people there. And it's like, well, it's not that we want more than 8 people for a random online race, but we want the ability to do that in custom races. So they're just
We want cameramen and
yeah.
stuff and everything. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
having a spectator mode will just alleviate having to use racer slots for camera.
Yeah, he talked about that. He said that he wants to add a spectator mode too.
Yeah,
So
he actually said he's been working on it on his lunch breaks or something like that. So it sounds like it's kind of
yeah, they've dragged him away from AC into PU, so he doesn't get to work
Yeah.
as much on AC. He says, but
Yeah.
apparently there'll be more stuff. DJ, if you're watching, thank you for
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, I mean,
100%.
but
I'm excited.
I'm not sure if they were right about this, but someone said that DJ's PU job is is in charge of doing like the transit system and stuff like that. So
Oh, is it?
So please do that before you before
yeah,
you do anything for
definitely.
Rocket AC, because my god, that
No,
dude.
screw it. Screw PU.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
work
yeah.
on AC full time, DJ.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
I want it.
I think that's what someone said that he does for the PU. But yeah, but he's
Okay.
it's glad to see that he's back asking us for feedback and stuff, and it looks like they're pushing to make Arena Commander a little bit more robust and a little bit more usable outside of the PU, so we can do a lot more racing in there. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, I think we mentioned this briefly in the last one, but on this topic, I'm curious to see how eventually they transition Arena Commander to be something that you actually do in the PU. So they're putting a lot of work on Arena Commander as a separate game mode, but I think the objective was still for Arena Commander to eventually go into the sim pods, right? Unless they
Yeah,
decide to keep them
fine,
split.
yeah.
So in that case, what issues there,
I
I
hope so.
guess.
Be nice.
It makes sense if you could do either. Like if you could just
Yeah,
go
yeah.
hop in your sim pod to hop in, right? Like that. Like I'm excited for that for when the org is doing something, and it'd be nice if I was like available, but there's a lot of downtime. It'd be great to just go hop into a sim pod and then do some practice around some tracks, and then they just give me the heads up. Hey, we have a target. Hop out of the
Like
sim
jump out
pod.
real
get,
quick, go
like,
into the turret seat,
Right,
and you're done.
right. Like
Yeah.
if you fly like a Gladius that's stationed on an Idris or something, like
Yeah,
you're really not doing
yeah.
anything on board unless you're flying that Gladius. So just you can hop in a sim pit or something and just do whatever until they're like, hey, we're in combat. Hop in the Gladius and get out of here. And yeah, that'd be nice.
I think we talked about this last pod actually. I think we're going.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just did it. We touched on it briefly, but yeah, like, but on the
Yeah.
topic, excuse me, on the topic of CIG listening to our feedback and actually acting on it, what do you guys think are like the necessary steps that CIG could do to help improve racing going forward? Because we are eventually going to have the sports guild, as we mentioned several times. So racing at some point or another is going to have some work being done on it. But wow, excuse me. But as we get to that point, what are the things that are like really important to really solidify racing as a legitimate thing within Star Citizen?
I mean, the server performance is an obvious one.
Oh yeah.
We can't have this desyncy stuff. I'm giving them a lot of slack on that because I understand they're working on server meshing and stuff like that. So the live environment is not been the greatest. Other than that, I mean, one of the things I would really love. I mean, they got to revamp things like missions and stuff. But one of the things I would really love is the ability to make custom tracks that basically create a mission, like similar to what they have in game right now. Like being able to set your own custom waypoints and stuff like that. That'd be incredible to make more
Yes.
community tracks available to people in game.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I don't know what CIG system is. I'm not going to pretend to be some expert game designer, but I think like having the ability to like create a custom checkpoint, like this is the start finish point, here's checkpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You set it up and it allows you to run that and maybe even time it for you. I think that is an amazing start to having these community made tracks. And you mentioned, having a mission system. With the current missions that we have in the PU were made from community tracks. So, like, do you think Pyro is going to actually come out with racing missions, or do you think CIG is going to give some time for the racing community to start generating tracks, see where the hotspots are, and actually start using those to make missions in game? Do you think CIG will actually take the step to create the tracks themselves, or do you think they'll still leave it in the community's hands and then just officialize those?
Yeah, they've made their own tracks before. Like Miner's Lament was 100% them, and so was Yadar.
Fair enough. Yeah, Yadar too.
And then during the demos they had at CitizenCon last year, not the most recent one, but the one before, there was a race track, like there was a race mission around.
Yeah, they had one.
Ruin Station that was something that they made. So I'm not sure if they're going to bring that racetrack back. I don't see why they wouldn't, just because they already made it. I don't know how in depth it was, if they actually went through the whole process of adding all the hollow gates and stuff like they did for Arena Commander or anything. But yeah, I mean, they definitely. I think if they're doing that and showing off a racing mission in Pyro, I have a feeling they're planning on probably continuing to do that. But I guess it's just whenever they get time to do it, because I think racing is definitely one of those back burner things that, like, if they have a new guy come in who's like a whatever, like a landscape artist or whatever they call them, maybe they'll give them a quick like, oh yeah, just to get familiar with the tools, go make a racetrack or something like that kind of thing. I know they've done that before, but not sure. Yeah,
Still
not
waiting
sure
on
what
the
they're.
second BTR track.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
tell Nino to come back. Offer him just a boatload of money to come back and make more tracks.
Putting them
Yeah.
on the spot.
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the things that they could do to really bring racing to that, like having actual reputation system and guild sort of quality they'd need for 1.0, is that hopefully they'll eventually, apparently someone wants them to do this, or someone in CIG said they want to do this, is adding leaderboards that are actually at the tracks and stuff.
Yes, that would be
Just to
so
make it,
Yeah.
yeah, just to make it so that being part of the racing community doesn't require you to like be in Discord and then like know these people already and find the events outside. Somehow bringing all the racing events we already do into the game and making them something that are actually like an in-game event that are on a calendar in-game that people can sign up for in-game, and then
Yeah.
you don't even need to be in XGR to compete in them. Some kind of system that allows people to line up for the race start at the right time, and then the race will start completely hands off and record people's
Yeah, like a
lap and
light up
stuff.
grid spot. Like here's your
Yeah.
square. Go line up in your square. That'd be like now I'm. Oh man, you got my imagination running. Like I imagine there's a big billboard
Yeah.
on near every track that just has all the best times from the mission on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, you know racers would be grinding to be in the
Oh,
top
hell
yeah.
5 or the
I mean,
top
I know a
whatever
few
year.
people
Yeah.
already that'll definitely be like, I
mean,
just
we
want to
already-
always be on the top
I just want
spot
my
of that
name on there.
board.
My
Yeah,
name's got to be in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was already cool seeing your name up on the website on the AC
Yeah.
leaderboard and stuff. It was like, oh, I want to be in the top 5, so my name shows up on there. But if it was actually in game and people can just roll up and see the names there, I mean,
yeah, it's
that's
huge
the
difference.
ultimate.
Because the
Yeah, the
SCR
problem with
board
those
is pretty much
leaderboards,
only
yeah.
known by the racing community, right? But having it as
Yeah.
an
Yep.
in-game kind of like
Mhm.
landmark, I guess people will just drop by. I wonder who's on the top here. Oh, look, it's that guy. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like the RSI board is cool and all, but I feel like it kind of. I think after the first 2 patches of it being, it kind of lost its luster. Like I don't think the racers are as like serious about trying to get into that top 5.
Yeah,
It's just there just should be something in game, like a way for your name to be widely recognized just because you're flying around and you go near the racetracks. You go, oh, here's
Yeah,
all the best
yeah.
racers.
Yeah, or
Like,
even if they
do
wanted
something-
to take it to the next level, making it so it doesn't, those leaderboards don't just show up at the racetrack, having them somewhere else in random stations or just wherever, just as like random
Yeah, like-
flavor just around the stations, and just so you
Yeah.
can see actual real information being shown on those boards instead of just whatever generic like stuff they'll have on them right now.
Yeah, like you're
really
walking
cool.
around Lorville, Tisa Spaceport, and you just see on a big sign it shows like the fastest this week, the fastest all time. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
a
just as
board
a-
like that.
Like Grimhex
Cycling.
has a kind of thing. Like they have like a cafeteria
Yeah.
at the back with the big glass thing, and
Yeah.
it has like race in progress, and then it has a bunch of TVs with scoreboards on them, but they're always empty. So like they can use that to
Yeah.
show the miners' lament tracks and stuff like that. So they already have something in place. Like we can. This is like the sports bar. We're watching all the racing happening, but
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing incentivizing them to actually put it into the system. But if they actually add something like this, where they can have these kind of screens all on the landmarks close by, that would be so awesome. And really, you know, as you guys said, encourage all the racers to just like, I want my name to be in like headline on Lorville. You know, it's like the fastest time of the week or fastest of all time. So
We
yeah.
say that now, and then we're all gonna be disappointed when it's all the Frenchmen. It's all Bulldog.
Oh yeah,
across everything. It
it's
just
just
says
Bulldog,
Bulldog's
Fresh,
name
Jelly, or Dito.
plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just think we need like more things. I mind you, this is like post 1.0 stuff, but just more things that makes the interactions happen in game versus out of
Mhm.
game. Because
Yeah.
right now, almost all of your interactions for racing don't involve actually being in game. It involves with getting on the right Discord. You know, go to scr.gg.
Yeah.
Find the YouTube podcast for Star Citizen Racing. Like
Learn
it's
what's
not
coming up
these-
next. Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, how cool would it be if you could have something like this podcast? Not saying that ours has to be on there, but it could be on like podcasts could be on TV screens talking about stuff, right? Like a lot of this stuff they can implement, I think, long term into Star Citizen to make it feel like a more living, breathing world, which makes me excited if they add it.
Just imagining Expat Brat being on all the advertising in all the cities,
Yeah,
Small shout out to her, I
much.
guess. Yeah, we'll have something like that with all our in-game characters doing the podcast instead of here.
It'd be great. It'd be awesome.
But yeah, I think that's the main thing, is just if they can somehow get the stuff we already do to just be incorporated into an in-game system.
Yeah, like they talked about. They've talked about already what they call dynamic events for racing. That they said they want to add that one day, which would be great if there's basically a dynamic event that was like, okay, show up at Lorville. Okay, it's your turn to run a lap to set the grid. Okay, now here's your spot on the grid. You line up. A timer starts. It's 5 laps, and the end of this person. Yeah, at the end of it, they win the dynamic event. Right? Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can tie, like blueprints and all this kind of stuff, or like bonus reputations to getting wins or even participation. I mean, I think it's very important to still reward participation, because if it's only for the wins, you can bet that only the racers are actually going to go compete. And if I'm just a random guy who just like, oh, I'm in Lorville and a racing event's about to start, I'll just go look by and I'll just see, Boltok on track or Fresh on track. I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do anything. I'm back to mining it is. So you still want to reward participation, is just make it really nice for the winners. So
gambling, add gambling.
I mean, they did. The syndicate has the race with the race fixing, but I think it's probably going to end up being some kind of gambling on it. So we'll see. Yeah, lots of really exciting things that could potentially come. I mean, a lot of this talk has been speculation today, but that's most of what we have right now. I mean, recently the racing scene has been kind of quiet. I mean, that's probably very much a factor of most of the focus currently is getting 4.0 ready, and then what's going to happen once it hits live, because a lot of things have been gutted from 4.0. So it's mostly just going to be the new missions and, the new system. And then they'll slowly start bringing back the features that were supposed to be added. So I think Stanton sadly might start be putting on the back burner for a while. So a lot of the tracks that we know and love right now might be a bit underused going into 2025. But hopefully we can find a good balance and still keep a lot of racing events happening. So, because waiting for a lot of people to come up with a lot of different tracks might take some time. I know a lot of people have already been jumping on the PTU and just really looking for tracks, and really excited to see what a lot of people come up with. But
yeah, sadly the desync is horrible in 4.0 right now, so you really can't even try to, like, if you find something that looks cool that you might be able to like work with and be like, can I workshop this to make a track out of it? You're not going to last for more than 2 turns before you desync into something, so it's not great.
Well, desync or not, we're still going to try in the racing community. We got a race coming up. We do have one. I think it's about time we talk about it, because we're getting a little.
I think we're coming close to the end of our time here. So so we can talk about what's coming next, and probably the last race before 4.0, unless there's one more. But it depends on when 4.0 hits. But for now, I think the last race that we think is going to be happening before 4.0 is, of course, the Aurora All-Stars, which is making its return for 2954. You want to talk a bit about it, Dirk?
Yeah, it's exciting. We got a few people from Sangos Luna going to... Jacko, did you sign up, or
you're
not available for that?
I did sign up for it. I mean, for me, the Aurora All-Stars is actually the 1 year anniversary of me joining the racing community. The very first racing event that I had ever joined was the Aurora All-Stars of 2953. So it's kind of like my anniversary of getting into racing. So definitely did not want to miss this.
Yeah, so every year they pick a new place. I think the first All-Stars was at Orison. I might be mistaken. I do know the last year's was at Microtech, and this year is at Hurston. So this year there's going to be 3 tracks. It's going to start with Lorville Outskirts, the classic that is on AC. Then it is going to go to a track made by one of Bill Boy's compatriots, Second Saber. It's a Black Star made track called Tisa Towers. It's pretty fun. A little longer, a little bit harder to learn right away, but once you've figured it out, it's pretty fun. And then the third track is going to be one made by Boltok, actually. What was that one called? Lorville Loading or
Lorville like Loading Site, I think it's called.
Yeah, and that one, that's an incredible track. I mean, not to like Saber's track is good too, but Boltok certainly knows how to make a good little tight track. and a short one, probably like 30
Yeah,
second laps
he
or
used
something
that
like
little
that.
area that me and Connor were messing around with for we had like a track we were working on that we never ended up making as a performance at Lorville had always been so bad we never finished it, but that little area he used for his track is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's good fun. I'm really excited to try it. And one thing that I really like that they're doing is they're going to be doing
Qualifying.
qualifying for the
Ooh,
grid.
nice.
So
Cool.
They did
yeah,
that last year too.
so nice. Yeah, so I'm excited about that this year. Basically,
Yeah.
everyone's going to go into AC and do. They get 2
2
laps
laps. Yep.
of Lorville outskirts in the Aurora to go as fast as you can, and that sets the grid for the rest of the event. If you do well in the first round at Lorville outskirts, you'll move on to the second round at Tisa Towers. If you do poorly in it, you go and do the amateur final in Tisa Towers. If you do well in round 2 at Tisa Towers, oh, sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear. Kiddo just woke up from her nap. But if you do well in round 2 at Tisa Towers, then you move on to the finals in round 3 at that loading site, Bulldogs track. And if you do poorly in the round 2, you go on to do the Pro-Am final at the Louisville loading site track. But anyways, it's going to be good fun. I think there's maximum of 20 participants. So far, I
Yes.
think there's 16 people signed up. So that should be a lot of good pilots going there. I'll be competing myself. I'm having a good time practicing for it with the other SL guys. And I think it'll be streamed on
On the
XGR's
XGR,
channel.
yeah. The qualifying
Yeah.
will not be streamed, so we'll be doing the qualifying offline, and then once we have the grid set up for the first race, that's when the stream will kick off. Was Tisa Towers actually round 2? I thought Bulldogs track was round 2, and then Tisa Towers is the final.
Let me double check. If I check XGR's Discord, they should have it. I was pretty sure it went Tisa Towers round 2. See announcements.
Pull it up real quick.
Lorville. Where does it say? Yeah, Tisa Towers is round 2 according to the
Okay.
announcement. I mean, it could change,
Yeah,
but I think that works out great. I think Tisa Towers. Like both Lorville and Tisa are approachable for people as long as you learn the track. The
Yeah.
last track I wouldn't say is not approachable, but certainly when you're talking about people trying to push their times to the fastest, those tighter tracks are a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, the performance will definitely play a big role. I mean, I've tried out the Lorville loading site on Bulldogs track quite a bit. I mean, I was running it a bit on stream the other day, and I was running it a bit of practice with the SL guys. And honestly, the hardest part is there's the middle section where you have to pass through 3 cranes, and just my FPS just drops. Like I get down to like 15 FPS at that stage. So it's definitely the scariest part because of the frame rate, not just because it's a tight section, just because of the frame rate. It's definitely play a big part.
This should be posted on scr.gg. Let me just double check.
Probably in
But
the
I'm
events
pretty
calendar.
sure
Yes,
if you go to scr.gg/events, yeah, it's there. There should be a lot of details. As the time of recording, it starts in 5 days. Probably like if this gets posted on Monday, it'll be 4 days. But yeah, it should give you a lot more details about it and race prizes. Let's see the amateur winner. So if you don't do well at Lorville, this is another thing that I think is pretty exciting about this. If you don't do well at Lorville and you kind of get like dropped out right away and you have to compete with the I don't want to say weaker or slower pilots, but it's like the ones who don't make it to round 2. Then you do have a chance at winning a PTV by winning that AM event. So if you're like a really decent pilot who doesn't make it into round 2, then you have a good chance of still winning a prize. If you don't make it into round 3 and you're racing in the Pro-Am, you still have a chance at winning the Pulse. Jacqueline's got the prizes up there near the bottom. But then if you do make it into the finals, there's 3 pretty big prizes: the C1 Spirit, the Intrepid LTI, and a Cyclone RC LTI. So those are pretty good if you manage to win the full event and you get to be called the All-Star for this year. You can get yourself a nice little C1 Spirit LTI. Pretty good value to put in your hangar.
Shaknu is currently the defending champion 2 years running. So
is he really? Oh yeah.
He won the first Aurora All-Stars and he won it last year as well. So I'm pretty sure he'll be back to defend his title for a 3rd time.
Oh, is he signed up for it?
I have no idea, but given the fact that last year he showed up to defend his title from the first year, I'm pretty sure that he'll be back to defend his title. I mean, you have
he
to,
did
right?
say it's like the one. Yeah, he said it's like the one type of event that he'll sign up to every year. He's mentioned it before. So
yeah,
if anyone's unaware, Shaknu is the one who taught Billboy and I everything we know about racing. The guy's a G. He's
Shaq needs the OG tryhard.
Yeah.
I think he's the he's the best racer that's not currently racing.
Probably.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Splen's not
Yeah,
racing these
Splen's
right now
right
either.
there as well.
Yeah,
too.
him and Splen are right. Yeah, they're like the OG best racers. So
They
those two
invented
guys,
being good at
The
racing.
Gen
so,
1
yeah.
they did.
best racers.
They
Yeah,
are the first gen of it. Yeah, yeah. The latest generation is fresh. Boltock's been there the whole time. He's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
he's just been just the perennial greatest racer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we have any other major topics we want to talk about? I think that was pretty much.
I think that's pretty much it for this episode. To be completely honest, we just wanted to end on what's coming up next. So it's definitely Aurora All Stars, definitely one to watch. So I will be leaving a link for the signups if you want to sign up. I think you have until the actual race day to sign up, or was the signups already closed?
Not sure.
All right, yeah, I'll check it out just to see.
It should say on that events page that you had open.
I can't see. Starts in 5 days. It doesn't say that the signups will end anytime soon. But yeah, I'll leave a link to the sign up just in case.
Signups close 1800 UTC December
on the
13th.
Day. Okay, so the day before. But yeah, I'll leave a link to the signups in case you get to it before that race, and I'll also leave a link to the XGR Twitch page, so you can, if you catch it live, you can catch it live. If not, you'll catch the VOD on that channel for sure. So definitely worth watching. Aurora All Stars is. I mean, I have a bit of bias, but it's definitely one of my favorite events to watch. I mean, I had watched the previous one too, just to see what's up with that, because it's quite a fun event. The Aurora is such a special ship. It's really a fun ship to fly, and it's a fun ship to see a race for. I don't know what it is about it. Just I really enjoy watching the Aurora. So
it's the best trainer ship. I think it's really underrated. For racing and stuff, it's incredible. So that's why I like going out. And I didn't compete in either of the last two All-Star events, unfortunately, but I'll be competing at this one, and I think it'll be a good time. Yeah, it'll be my first time. If you are new-ish to racing and you want to do an event, this is kind of the perfect type of event to get into. I mean, like Jacko says, it was his first one ever, and he had a good time. And they've especially done it up in a way where even if you can't compete with the top pilots, you'll still have opportunities to compete with pilots at your skill level for prizes, which is really great. Or if you're even if you're in the called the slowest tier of pilot, you'll still have a chance to compete for a prize and have a chance to win it. If you're in the mid tier of pilot, you still have a chance again to win a prize, because of the pro-am and the amateur finals. So those will be great. I recommend signing up. There's 4 spots left, but you'll be on a wait list, and there's always people that don't show up. So no matter what, I would say sign up if you're interested in it.
Show your interest, and maybe you'll get the call. So make sure you keep yourself available to it. If not, if you don't get the call, you can always just hang out in the Twitch chat. I believe they might also have a viewer raffle going on. They generally do when they have an event like this. So not sure if that's going to be the case, and if it is, I'm not sure what it can be. But that's always a possibility. Just hanging around, you might just watching, you might win something. So that's the beauty of the racing community, man. It's prizes for everyone. So yeah, I think we can close it off there, guys, unless you guys have one last thing to say, but we've gone past our time, our allotted time, but yeah. You have anything else to say, or we can wrap it up?
No, I think that's about all that's going on right now. I'm sure that next podcast will probably be in 4.0, so.
I do want to quickly shout out Run Runners. This is the jersey.
Shirt.
Yeah, Jack didn't wore this one live. You can see the number on the back. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Close.
Anyways, it was a great jersey. It was.
I gotta work on getting some for our guys.
Yeah, you need a Black Star jersey.
Yeah.
It's kind of like us two, kind of like SL and then the Black Star. I feel I'm unbiased as I possibly can. I am with Sangus, but I'm an unbiased figure here. Okay, that's why I'm sitting in the middle. I'm separating these sandwich.
And hey, if you think Billboy looks cooler, send him a DM to join Black Star. If you think Dirk looks cooler, send me a DM and I'll get you into.
Or if you think none of us are cool, start your own racing team and start bringing the fight to both of these orgs. So I think definitely going forward, especially with what's been said, like with all the jumps and having an org, is definitely going to be helping the racing community. The more teams there are, the more competitive the scene gets. I think everyone's just gonna push each other, like that's the best part about the racing community is everybody pushes each other to improve, to race better, to just have an awesome time on track. So the more racing teams, the bigger the push. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah. See you guys in 4.0.
Yes, thank you so much for watching, guys. Next episode will probably be around 4.0, and I think starting from episode 3, we will actually be starting to run this live, aside from having the recording for the channel. So look forward to more information about that. We have yet to confirm all the details, but yeah, I think from episode 3 and onwards, we will start doing them live as well. So if you want to come by, once the information is confirmed, I will post it all over the place to show to let you guys know how it's going to work. But yeah, look forward to that. Until then, thank you guys so much for hanging around and listening in. I'm Jackaden, Dernk, and Billboy. I'm confusing. I'm the mirror images, the cameras. That's Billboy. That's Dernk. I'm Jackaden. Thank you so much. This has been the episode 2 of the Star Citizen Racing Podcast. Thank you.